talk about?
I speak on behalf of cigarettes.
My mom used to smoke. She says cigarettes kill.
Really? Now, is your mommy a doctor?
No.
A scientific researcher of some kind?
No.
Well, she doesn't exactly sound like a credible expert now, does she?
Message to the people of Flint.
Just keep your fingers crossed for me as I go for the gold in 2 weeks and hopefully bring back a crown for Flint and the rest of the Michigan state.
2 weeks.
Who? Gonna hit? My invite pit.
I'll pay for this one myself.
Open the door.
When's the last time you had a chest x-ray? You know about secondary smoke? You can give people lung cancer who are innocent and trying to live healthy lives.
Look at the red book. That book is blue.
Well, forgive me. I lost my secret decoder ring.
For
4545.
already number 18.
Yeah, I got it. 1980.
Hey!
And we're back.
So, you're all gussied up this fine day.
Yes, I am.
And you are?
Tom.
And I'm Mark.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs. But why are you gussied up today?
Well, it was cold outside, so I thought I'd warm up. No, obviously, my cubbies finally broke the curse. The curse was actually, see, people mistakenly think that the curse is that we'll never win the World Series. And the curse was, because the Billy Goat, they wouldn't let the Billy Goat in, was that we would never get to the World Series again. So, curse is broken. Theo Epstein has his place in the Hall of Fame for bringing World Series, multiple World Series to the Sox. So he's going to do it again for the Cubs. And I will, unfortunately, or fortunately for you, because then you can catch a breather, I will not be here next week, because I will be in Chicago, hopefully, trying to find tickets and seeing the series with my kids. So that would be fun.
Billy Goat?
Billy Goat. You know, the curse of the Billy Goat? Do you not know of that?
I don't know if we have time for that.
Okay.
Are you going to go and, like, hang out in the parking lot? Like, so if nothing else, you'll, like, be really close to where the game's happening?
If you can even get to the parking lot. If you saw, there were an estimated 22,000 people around Wrigley Field who couldn't get in. I'm in a lottery with a whole bunch of my friends right now to try to get actual tickets to get in. If we can get actual tickets, Walter, my younger son, who is a minor, and Benjamin and I will go out and go to the game. If not, unfortunately, Walter can't get into the bars, so only Benjamin and I will be going out.
I was going to say, go somewhere just to be in town where that excitement happens.
Absolutely, yeah.
Where a bunch of people are watching it. It's got to count for something.
Absolutely.
Does he carry a canary?
No.
Sorry,
yeah.
Being a minor and all?
Yeah, but I'm bummed.
So, did you see any movies this weekend?
I saw a whole bunch, actually,
Did you
strangely enough, yes.
Would you care to tell me about the first one?
I'll be glad to tell you about the first one, and you've seen him before, and he's a familiar face, and he doesn't have his glasses on. I don't remember him putting his glasses on. But Tom Cruise is back as that malicious but nice former Navy guy who's got to defend a friend of his honor, and actually her life, most likely, because people are trying to kill her. And Jack Reacher now realizes that he has no way back. I was thinking maybe he was Kevin Costner and he had no way out, but now he'll never go back. And perhaps as an actor or character, we may hope that he never goes back. I enjoyed the first one. And again, not to necessarily hold them up to the books and all that. And these really do have, the Reacher books do have kind of a cult underground following.
Very strong following.
I'd read the first one, liked it, but never pictured Cruise in the role. And so when the first one came out, I was surprised at how much I kind of enjoyed sort of the sardonic wit. And, you know, he's such a charismatic character that I was really looking forward to this. And I just thought this was flat and predictable. One of my comments was that, and you and I have already talked about it, if you took all the running sequence out of this movie, it could be half an hour long.
When I was watching it, I started to laugh. I'm like, this film is designed to let you know that, yes, Tom Cruise can still run at full speed.
Yeah, he's really only 52 or something like that, I don't know. But I just thought this was really kind of predictable. Both predictable and there's a subplot in there. This young girl enters into his life, And so we're not giving anything away by saying it's she seems to think, or people seem to think that she is his daughter, and where is Jack's wife, woman with whom he had this kid, and blah blah blah. And in my opinion, there's no way you can win at that point. Either it's a tomato surprise and we were just kidding and she really isn't, or she really is and we've been thinking that all along. So much of this film just felt like it was missing a cylinder, and just kind of piece by piece, just picture puzzle. It was sure a lot of, quite literally, and we've already talked about this, run to a place, have a fight, and talk about it. Then run to another place and have a fight, find a clue, and run there. I just was, unfortunately, really disappointed. The characters are interesting enough, especially his kind of semi-love interest, the woman he has to break out of prison and help, clear her name. The two of them were interesting enough that, I gave it a 3 or a 4, but I was really expecting a lot more from the second Jack Reacher.
So was I. Never go back, indeed. The first one was a surprise to me. It made me very happy. It was a nice, good, tough guy, vigilante kind of film, which I love. The action was well rendered. It was really well done, and it was kind of a low-key, tough guy drifter movie. And then this feels like an episode of a TV show. Like, a lot of the villains were very kind of cliche and cheesy. A lot of the dialogue was. The overall situation. And it feels like a spin-off episode of a TV show. It feels like this is designed to introduce the Cobie Smulders character as a female version of Jack Reacher who has adventures. Because I would say she's more the star of the movie than Tom Cruise is.
Yeah.
It way more focuses on her than him. The action I thought was really poorly done for the most part. He does all of these cool hand-to-hand moves, but it is so badly edited and shot. It's just like, and the guy's in the ground. I guess Jack Reacher won, repeatedly. And that was really frustrating because you get glimpses of what should be very interesting and memorable, but it's not. It's just a blur. And the bad guy's plot felt like it could have fallen out of any A-Team episode. Yeah. So this was a huge disappointment to me, and I was really looking forward to it. I made it a point to see this at the Alamo Drafthouse because I was in Pennsylvania this weekend, and I had a friend who'd never been there, and like, oh, cool, we'll go see the new Jack Reacher movie. And he thought it was cool. He'd never seen one before, and let me tell you, they do so much expository dialogue to let anybody who's never heard of him know who he is in the first 20 minutes of this movie, that you don't have to have seen the first one if you're interested in this. I think this probably is best served for people who are just curious to watch like a little bit of an intrigue action movie on a matinee or on TV.
Maybe a good airplane
movie. Yeah. Don't call it Shirley. But I saw the trailer in front of this for John Wick 2, which I am very, very excited about, and hopefully will not be similarly disappointed by. Speaking of similarly,
yes.
I think we are similar in that we have both heard of the brand name upon which the next film is based. So you say you're a fan of board games and you really want to see films based on them? Well, here you go. From Parker Brothers, the company that brought you Battleship the movie, comes a film about, what are you not going to touch? I'm not going to. When the spiritism is all swirling around you and it's a long time ago before cell phones and personal devices and you want to tap the table and find out from beyond, well, Uncle Susan, you do not want to know about OUIJA, Origin of Evil.
Scary stuff.
So full disclosure,
yes.
This is not playing at Keene Cinemas.
This is true.
And neither of us saw the film.
That's very true.
So we don't really have much to say about it other than I feel like this is I'm going to just shoot my mouth out about a movie I haven't seen. I feel like this is inspired by The Conjuring and that it's set in the past. I feel like it is a hack premise or technique to take an old upbeat pop song and infuse it with creepiness because it's in a horror movie, which is what Insidious did with Tiptoe Through the Tulips. And the whole CGI rubber giant mouth opening, that looks stupid.
Yeah.
It's not scary. This is like a modern horror trope, and it's stupid. It's not scary. It looks dumb. I don't like many modern horror movies because they confuse special effects with scary. And maybe if audiences are programmed to, I am seeing a scary movie, that is happening, therefore it must be scary.
Right.
Maybe people are being fooled into thinking that is. But anyway, I would have seen this if I had the chance.
At least we've gotten away, I think, in the past few horror movies that we've seen, that the jump cuts and the cat jumping out
Jump scares
isn't
are
there anymore as
cheap.
much anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've always hated those, but yeah, now it's just the special effects, and you just know it is. And so even though, I mean, there's always a sense of, chucking your brain at the door and forgetting disbelief when you go into any movie. And so like with The Exorcist, and you saw Reagan's head turning around, you know that's an effect. But you let it...
If it's well made enough and you're in the moment, you forget that.
Right, I think that's it. And these effects just seem to jump out at you. You know, again, I haven't seen it yet either. You and I both like scary movies, and I hope to see it when it comes out, but just do something clever.
So if anybody has seen it and wants to tell us what you think, email us at movies@CheshireTV.org, and we will be better informed people who talk too much on TV.
That's right.
Up next, a film you did see.
I did buy it, as a matter of fact. And a fine, upstanding American couple is just having a wonderful time. They send their, not that they have a wonderful time sending their kids off to a camp for the weekend, but it's a lovely neighborhood, and just everything is idyllic when some new neighbors move in. And isn't it terribly exciting? They're so perfect, and they seem so wonderful all the time that they're going to spend all of their time trying to be keeping up with the Joneses. So
There are two things that have me interested in that movie.
is that right?
Yeah.
Well, John Hamm was one of them for me.
good.
I really like him. He's really funny. He's by far, in my opinion, the best thing about this. Galifianakis is an acquired taste, I think. And I had thought I was sort of starting to acquire him. I didn't dislike this movie, but it wasn't nearly as funny as I thought it was going to be. And that's one of the powers of trailers. We should do a show sometime, and everybody's familiar with them.
That's part of what I think our job is to let folks know whether the trailer is an accurate representation of the film or not.
Right.
Because you may think you really want to see something, and then I'll say, this is actually a Holocaust drama. There's no pratfalls in this film.
Right.
So
when they send their kids off to camp, it's not that kind of camp. And so I really thought that this was going to, once again, I'll keep using the same terminology, burn on all cylinders. And it didn't. It just felt very flat throughout. Not necessarily. The big question is that Ham and she's Wonder Woman. Sorry, everybody's.
I believe it is Gal Gadot.
Okay, Gesundheit.
Pretty sure.
But that's all we're gonna think that she is anymore, because she is Wonder Woman. And so the big question is, they're the new couple that moves in with Galifianakis. And the thing is, things seem really weird. It seems like, are they bugging us? Are they, something odd is up. And so the big question is, are they spies? For whom do they work? Blah, blah, blah. And Galifianakis and Ilsa Fisher end up working with them, either of their own volition or not. Leave it up to you. And so I just thought this looked really, really funny.
Sounds like it would make a good double with Central Intelligence.
It felt like Central Intelligence meets Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And the action isn't anywhere nearly that good. The comedy really falls pretty flat. And so, sorry to be a bum, but I really ended up being disappointed with Keeping Up with the Joneses. It didn't keep up. Sorry.
Speaking of disappointed,
yes.
I'm disappointed that I didn't get a chance to see this next film. Or am I?
We'll find out.
Tyler Perry is back as the character he is best known for. This time, the Big Bad Mama is looking at, can I say the word spooks? Probably shouldn't. Looking at all kinds of Halloween horror in Boo! A MADEA Halloween.
Ice cold Coca-Cola for everybody at the refreshment counter now.
So Medea is clearly an acquired taste as well, and I tend to think that I've acquired it. I think Tyler Perry, he was by far my favorite thing in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He plays this kind of mad scientist, and he's got a real sense of his persona. I think he's a good actor. We've seen him in some dramatic roles.
I think dramatically he is. That's why it's so
surprising.
Weird that he does this completely opposite of the end of the spectrum kind of thing.
Well, and that's what's kind of fun, obviously, about Medea. But this one, once again, I'm just such a bummer today that, boy, a comedy with Medea and Tyler Perry about horror movies and things, how much fun can you have? And the jokes are just, once again, flat. They're very surface jokes. There's nothing clever about it. Not that, again, Medea is terribly clever, but when he gets into her persona, and is just mouthing off and stuff. That's some of the fun stuff, and these ones just felt almost kind of nasty. It was almost there's a scene where she's sitting out with a friend of hers, and they're handing out Halloween candy, and the banter back and forth is just kind of mean-spirited. So that surprised me. You mentioned off air that these things tend to be all this kind of very silly, in-your-face kind of humor, which Medea is, and then it wraps up with, in your term, if I can remember it.
Feel free.
Not that I could say anything, and I could say it was you.
Yeah.
The after-school special sort of sappy, moralistic ending, and that's exactly what happened here. It turns out that a lot of the most of the scary stuff that's going on are pranks being pulled on Medea. So she's able to turn it around and pull pranks on the people who are pranking her. And then Tyler Perry, as Tyler Perry, his straight character, who is either, I don't remember the stories well enough, if he's Medea's son or her nephew, but he's a lawyer, and he comes along and, tells all the kids about morality, and it just felt, it's the same. If you love the Medea things, it's more of the same. I just didn't think for want of a better term, the cleverness that Perry usually gives us was there.
Okay. That is the only film that is currently at Keene Cinemas that we have discussed. So if you do want to see Boo, the new Medea film, it is playing there. I'm going to assume it's probably going to be there a couple weeks, timed with Halloween and everything.
It was in Theater 6.
It was in Theater 6. Okay, then. Revise that. Okay, if you're in the Keene area and you want to see the Medea Halloween film, I would see it this week.
At the 8 o'clock show.
Because it might not be there by Thursday. Those who are local and in the know, Theater 6 is where what I call the short time theater. So, but one of the only theaters I know of where you can sit in the front row and it's the best row.
Yeah.
And you have literally 2 Cadillac lengths of legroom. So you can stick your feet straight out if you want to. So we thank our friends at Keene Cinemas for getting that and for what they're going to get in the future. And oh boy, are they going to. And no, really, they're really cool to us. Now we move on to that which is on home video, which my co-host and #1 Cubs fan in Keene will tell you all about.
Yes, and everybody's back once again. We've had 25 years of some pretty decent times. We haven't been bugged by any of those nasty aliens that are out there, but now they're back. And what are we going to do? We've been able to integrate a lot of their technology. We got a lot of the same old folks back. Our old ex-president is back to help us out. And we're going to be able to celebrate Independence Day in a resurgence.
Looking people in the whole world. Potato Head people look different every time you make them.
So,
yes.
Man, this is, I gotta find if there's anything that I like this week. I'm sorry about all of this.
Oh,
but
there's one.
I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest with you and say that I was really looking forward to this. A lot of the trailers, just make it look like loads of fun that it can be. I think if you haven't seen the first one, my biggest issue is this just felt like a remake. It was clever, and I really enjoyed. The production designers must have had loads and loads of fun because it's clear that 25 years ago, after we defeated the aliens, we've integrated their technology into ours. And there's lots of neat, subtle little examples of that in the background as you're looking around, and our characters now, are using different things. So that's a lot of fun. But boy, the rest of the action, the aliens come, and we have to defeat them, and we have to get, something inside there to try to beat them, and it's just the exact same thing. So if you like that, I guess it's okay. Goldblum as the scientist who comes to help everybody out. Bill Pullman as the ex-president. And he's kind of a nutcase where everybody's wondering if he has Alzheimer's and he's going to try to save everybody. They really have nothing to do, both as actors or characters. I don't know why, and I guess either you couldn't afford him or he was out doing something else. But clearly the star of Independence Day was Will Smith. And you need his kind of smarmy bravado, and he's not there. His son is one of the main characters, and they make this throwaway reference to him. Just, you're standing on the platform that was named for him. And so we figure that he's dead. And Liam Hemsworth, who is, a Hemsworth brother, I guess, couldn't get Thor. So he's okay, but basically everybody in this has nothing to do except go through the motions of exactly what happened in the first one. So while the effects are great, and some of the new characters we meet are sort of fun. I just thought it was another waste of time.
Upon which I did not with mine.
Okay.
I never saw this in the theater,
Well, then
and
you
I
didn't waste your time.
I have not had an opportunity to review this for this program, nor will I, unless Arrow puts it out in 5 years.
Exactly
in which case I'll be
right.
like, oh, the transfer is beautiful.
They interviewed Will Smith.
Yeah, there's featurettes up the wazoo. Speaking of wazoo, here we have the sequel to Tim Burton's adaptation of Lewis Carroll's most famous classic work. Here we have Alice Through the Looking Glass, directed by somebody else.
More effective relief of those ugly cold symptoms in so many ways.
Oh boy, did I not like this movie. Okay, I saw this in the theater.
Yep.
And now maybe the film has changed since I saw it in the theater, and maybe it's great now, or maybe I would like it now. I don't think so.
2 added scenes. And oh my God,
Yeah.
it's so
Oh,
amazing.
they added 45 minutes to it, and it just changes everything. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't like the first film.
Yeah.
Which I saw many moons ago in 3D. I saw this film in 3D, which is not how the majority of people will see it for the remainder of its home video life. But I saw it in the theater, and it was just way over the top with effects. Like all it was effects.
Right.
And after a while, I just got tired of it. I'm just like, is there anything else going on other than there's such a thing as being consistently amazed too often, and it gets boring.
It was like visually exhausting.
That's a great way to put it. I was sitting there in my usual spot, halfway down in the theater, watching it in 3D, and after, and I said, "This is enough. I'm sick of this. The characters are annoying, especially the Helena Bonham Carter character. I don't care about the story. It's just excuses to have complex visuals upon complex visuals." And I got up to leave, and I'm like, well, this is probably almost over. So I watched like the last 3 minutes of the movie while leaning against the back wall at Keene Cinemas, so that I could be like out the door as soon as the words hit the screen. And I blacked out for a moment. And yeah, I really, really didn't like this. I mean, maybe if you're a big fan of the original, all the characters, for the most part, are back. Maybe for little kids for whom comprehending what's going on isn't important so much as pretty things to look at, it might be okay. But for me, it was just not so hot.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out for whom this was really made. I guess real fans of the early one. I think little kids. I wouldn't bring a little kid to this, somebody under, 6 or 7, because I think it's gonna be just visually overwhelming and troublesome. There's so much. It's got such a manic intensity. And I know that's the point, and that's what they went for, but that's part of what I didn't like about the first one. When the first one came out, and, they make movies for different people. I'm a big fan of Alice in Wonderland. My mom always was. I love Burton. I love Depp. And we love pretty colors. So
we do.
What's wrong with
when
the movie?
I saw the trailer initially, I thought, well, this is just going to be visually interesting, if nothing else.
Right, but it's just always coming at you, the first one. And this is more of the same, not terribly new or clever in the storyline itself. I didn't find this to be as manic as the first one, but there wasn't enough more there for me to figure that it merited a sequel. So I wasn't crazy about Through the Looking Glass.
Nay. It's a big negatory.
Yeah.
Speaking of big,
yes,
this next film was shot with sets that were taller than 6 feet.
That's pretty amazing, often. And then actually our director is not quite so big. Woody Allen is back. But he's finally found his pseudonymous character, somebody to represent himself. Woody always used to be, himself.
Yeah.
And it was always Woody in the films. And then it started getting a little old, let's face it. We got to turn the mantle over to somebody else. Well, Jesse Eisenberg has adopted that role. And I think he does it pretty well if you're a big fan of The Woodman. He plays a young lad who is just the personification of all that is New York City. But he has to move out to the West Coast, into the Hollywood lifestyle, and try to figure out, as he falls in love with this young woman, he has to figure out how to adapt himself into cafe society.
What do you know? No muss, no fuss. There's Easy Pop popcorn for all of us.
As long as Blake Lively stays away from that beach, everything's going to be okay.
Everything will be okay, you
Yeah.
think? Well, she can't stay away from the French subtitles. Again, not sure why. That was the only one I could find.
It's a little something
the
for
only
our-
trailer I could find from that one.
for a Francophone.
Again, if you like Woody, you're going to get very obviously super clever dialogue. Eisenberg has, I think he's the best of the new people to come along to inhabit the Woody Allen's skin and be his kind of pseudo self. you may have a different opinion of him, but he's done a couple of things. So I can't say I like Eisenberg, but I accept him, and I think I can respect him in this one. I found a lot of Woody Allen's latest stuff to just try a little bit too hard, to either try to recapture the magic that he had in previous ones, which he's done obviously some absolutely brilliant movies, but just trying a little bit too hard to be clever, be cutting edge. This one sort of pushes that envelope, but of the last 4 or 5, I think this is this is kind of a backhanded compliment. The least innocuous or ones that try too hard. Characters are fun. It's short and sweet. So Cafe Society, if you're expecting a Woody Allen fare, you're going to get it.
Are you saying least worst?
Least worst.
Oh, okay. I did not have a chance to see this.
Okay,
so
well then there you go.
I will not comment on it. Generally, I like Woody Allen's movies, and generally I find Jesse Eisenberg
to be annoying.
To be annoying. Douche, one might say, if we were going with the French. So now...
Well, it was French. We had subtitles, so...
And if I may...
Yes.
No beret. So now we are at my favorite portion of each and every show that we can carve out time for, and that is the Arrow Video Corner.
Absolutely.
And this is a little bit of catch-up. This is some stuff that has been out for a week, and things that are coming out this week on video from Arrow Video. So first up, we have a new release of a, to me, modern classic of Japanese horror cinema. From director Hideo Nakata, the director of The Ring. Based on a book by the author of The Ring, comes a tale of menacing moisture. That's really a pretty accurate description. We have Arrow Video's release of Dark Water.
This rabbit reacts calmly to petting and tapping.
Speaking of Woody Allen, to quote something he had handed, don't drink the water.
Right, that's true.
So this is a film this is one of those movies that when people say, you have any good horror movie recommendations? This is one of my go-to films.
Okay,
I've loved this since I saw it. Until now, my copy of this has been a Hong Kong DVD that I got online when the movie was like brand new. So it is very creepy. It is very, it is in Japanese, it's subtitled. Shouldn't matter because it's still creepy.
That's what struck me.
All the sequences that are the money shots are wordless. And I always tell people this movie will make you afraid of moisture because it is such good suspense and it is so finely crafted that dripping water starts to put you on edge in this movie. And basically it's people in a semi-rundown apartment building, a pretty rundown apartment building, and there's a leak in the apartment. They don't know where it's coming from, and all kinds of weird things with water start happening, and there's a creepy ghost. And I mean, it's of the Japanese ghost cycle, so there's the iconography of, somebody with dark hair in front of their face, like in the Ring movies. But from the director of The Ring, to me, as in my head, as good as The Ring, maybe slightly a step down from it. But I really like this movie quite a bit. So it's Arrow Video. So if you watch this, you know what we're going to say, but it's because it's always true. Very good video transfer on this film, good, easy-to-read subtitles. Unlike the disc that I have, where the subtitles were burned in and they were white, and every time there's something white on the screen, you can't read anything. These are nice. I believe they were yellow, easy-to-read subtitles, and loaded with extras. Modern interviews with the director, the person who wrote the book it was based on, one or more of the actors or actresses, some of the technical crew, behind-the-scenes stuff, trailers. I mean, everything you would want to have in one package for a movie you like is on this. So I would, aside from the fact that it's Arrow Video, I would highly recommend Dark Water because this is like one of my favorite horror movies.
Yeah, I thought, again, the transfer looked really good. What I noticed most were really nice deep blacks. And especially for a horror film, and this is shot beautifully, but so you can tell they're paying attention to that. So the blacks really give it an atmosphere. But you'd mentioned that it's subtitled, which it is. But this is once again one of those that you don't really even need it. This is so atmospheric that it builds up really well. The performances are terrific, and as you said several times, I think if this had been dubbed, it would have just lost so much of it because you can tell that the performances are off. So yeah, I was once again, and it's nice and tight. It's not super long by any means. I was once again pleasantly surprised that, boy, of probably any of them this week, Dark Water was my favorite.
And if the title is familiar, this after The Ring was remade in the U.S. and was a big hit,
right.
They started doing more of this. And Dark Water did get a remake and starred Jennifer Connelly, and it was set in like Roosevelt Island, New York City area. So if it's familiar and you've seen the remake, you may want to check out the original, because my memory of the remake is that it wasn't great and it was different enough that you could watch both and still enjoy them. Did you watch anything else? Oh, I guess I'm doing this one, aren't I?
This is yours.
Okay, well, shucks. So here is something that is not for everybody, but if it's for you, oh boy, you're going to be happy about it. So have you heard of Herschel Gordon Lewis? Okay, well, I'll tell you about him then. Herschel Gordon Lewis was this film director based out of Chicago in Florida in the 60s who cranked out terrible movies that were very poorly made. But they defined and created their own genre. So here is a little clip, and then we'll talk more about the Herschel Gordon Lewis Feast.
She's being attacked by a saxophonist or something, a flugelhornist.
What was Fuad Ramses?
I heard that.
So that's a clip from a little film called Blood Feast, which is the first gore movie. Now, not everybody are esteemed classy viewers or into gore movies, but Herschel Gordon Lewis is the guy, for better or worse, who is responsible, I was going to say reprehensible, both, responsible for R-rated horror movies. He was the first person to make films with explicit violence, and that's what sold these movies. These movies were made in the early 60s, Blood Feast, and played for at least a decade on the drive-in circuit. These movies were not made to be artistic. They were made to make money, and they had very cleverly...
So was he really wealthy?
He was.
Okay.
He actually became a millionaire in the field of direct mail marketing, in junk mail. He became an authority on how to write successful ad copy and junk mail, and wrote several books on the subject. He was a very classy,
Is this before
funny
or
guy.
after his directing?
This was after the directing. So,
you know what's weird? It's kind of scary that you know all this.
Oh, no, this guy's great.
Fill us
This
out.
guy's great. It's a fascinating story. So what you have here, if we can bring up the still at your convenience, this is a mammoth box set that Arrow has put out. It is multiple DVDs. It is just about, as you can see there, you get a DVD and a Blu-ray copy of all of his films, or the majority of his films, a barf bag. There's a deluxe version and a not-so-deluxe version. A lot of what's in there is in the deluxe version, like a soundtrack album and other stuff. But anyway, I just want to let folks see what that looked like. So the guy made movies from the 50s into the early 70s. He did all kinds of genres. He did he did drama, he did exploitation, he did horror, he did saucy movies, he did all that other stuff. But it was all just about making money. So it wasn't even about the films being good, and they're not. It's not about the acting being good, it's not. The writing being good, not particularly. Or being well shot. It's about making films that you could market and sell and would get butts in seats and would have enough exploitable elements that people would not regret paying their couple bucks at the time. He was partnered with a guy named David F. Friedman, who was a former Carney, which comes perfectly into play, and worked for Paramount in the publicity department. And they would craft these wonderful ad campaigns and trailers and posters and all kinds of stuff that would just sell these movies, and they would make tons of money. So what you have in this Arrow set is just about every movie the guy made. New recent introductions from him for every movie, telling you a little bit of background information.
Okay.
Interviews with him and Dave Friedman that go back to the 80s, some archival stuff, because Friedman's passed away, and sadly Lewis passed away very recently. And interviews with modern filmmakers and historians about these films and about the genres they represent. Every disc is loaded on this. Transfers on these discs are gorgeous for the most part. Films that you never think should look this good sometimes do. Sometimes they're working with the best materials they have and it's a little so-so, but it's the best any of this stuff has ever looked. It's all in one place. It ain't cheap, but let me tell you, if you like this stuff, it is worth it. I was actually able to spend a little time with Herschel Gordon Lewis very recently. There was my friend Harry Guerrero, who does Exhumed Films out of Philadelphia. He and his compadres did a 6-film movie marathon on film in Philly, and had Lewis there to introduce the films and sign autographs and do other stuff. And I actually got to chance with the gang to have lunch with him. He was a very funny guy, very smart, and it was somewhat of an honor to be in the presence of this guy, because the guy is legendary if you read the right history books. So the Herschel Gordon Lewis Feast is out now from Arrow Video. If you like this sort of thing, it's amazing. If you're interested in film history, it's worth looking at. I don't know if you'd want to own it, because honestly, the films really aren't very good. Their best are served as historical pieces and as things to laugh at with friends.
Okay.
So, speaking of Arrow Video, we have one more that I'm sure you're dying to tell us about.
We do. Well, from one of my personal favorite directors, unfortunately, we lost him recently, but Wes Craven, after like sating your desire for violence and potentially scary things with his first one, comes out with his second film about a family that is traveling through the West, heading off to California, and their car breaks down. Unfortunately, their car breaks down into a pretty bad area, because where they are, the hills have eyes.
Brand new. Oh, Mrs. Brown, the way your husband likes good coffee, you better take two.
Well, that trailer was completely screwed up, wasn't it? Sorry about that.
Well, I'd like to say that whenever there's anything that's frankly too shocking for mixed audiences,
we just cut to green.
We just green it right out.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
For mixed company.
Yes.
So, you saw this film long ago, did you?
I did. Well, certainly in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I was. This was one you'd go to the Arlington and see as many times as possible and not tell your mom that it was on. It's got one of the creepiest characters that you'll ever see from... this isn't really a horror film, but these types of... Craven makes some...
It's a survival film.
Yeah, I think more like that. But the funny thing about Craven, and I put him clearly in a peg up from like the Roger Cormans and the real low-end stuff, because Craven has done some good things as well. He tends to have social commentary going on, and this very much is kind of that. This, for me, was one of the earliest of these survivalist, semi-horror films that I just tend to love, where people are out in the middle of nowhere, and what in the world can you possibly do? The transfer is great. I think the action, while some of the performances might be a little tongue-in-cheek, I don't know, I still think the action holds up pretty well, and I really... as a personal favorite, The Hills Have Eyes has always been one of mine.
This is one that I didn't see until it'd been out for quite a while, so on video, and it's one that's never really connected to me for whatever reason. I think it's the mutant family. This takes place out in Nevada, where nuclear tests had gone on, and the idea is there's this cannibal family that lives in the hills and preys upon people that pass through. Something about the cannibal family I just found was kind of cheesy. The way they looked, the way they acted. Right. I mean, Michael Berryman, he just looks the way he looks, and he's a weird, creepy-looking guy. Nice guy by all accounts, but just looks odd. So I like the brutality of when the family decides it's time to turn the tables and take revenge.
Yeah,
That's really effective and well done. Overall, though, the movie's never really connected with me that much. I will have to say, though, again, as this is Arrow Video, this looks so good. It looks so sunshine, lollipops, happy 70s, and that really works to contrast how terrible the goings-on in the film are and how brutal the thing gets.
Yeah.
I've never seen it look as good as this, and you probably never will. Loaded with extras, commentary by Craven that was recorded, I think, for the previous DVD release.
Okay.
Craven and production people, and maybe some of the cast as well. I think there's 2 commentaries on this. Behind-the-scenes stuff, TV spots, trailers, loaded up with goodies. So, as with anything Arrow puts out, if you're a fan of this movie, this is pretty much the last version you're probably going to need to get until 12K comes along or something like that, until the VR version comes out. So even though I'm not a fan of the movie, it was really cool to be able to see it looking like this and to see all the context and behind-the-scenes stuff with it. So if you're a fan, I would obviously very much recommend Hills Have Eyes via Arrow. And that's all we have for this week.
It's amazing. We got through it.
We got through it all. And we actually got time to spend on the last films, which are the ones... usually the last thing we talk about is like, and it was good, bye.
Strangely enough, we've had Hills Have Eyes around for a few weeks.
It was intended to be last week's show. I guess... I didn't see anything else of note this week. What am I saying? I saw 6 Bigfoot movies at the drive-in. But this isn't the time or the place to talk about that. So next week, at this time,
yes,
you will be in Chicago, right?
No, I'll be mid-flight, actually.
Mid-flight,
as the case may be. So, but I will not be here in time to tape a show. So you'll probably see this exact same show again next week.
And enjoy. So I guess until then,
yes,
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs. Go Cubs!
Bye.